So I decided to play a little game. So I went through the alphabetical order. So we're going to start with K and end up with C. Let's see how we can come up with that. So the first one is ketones, right? So what are ketones? If you see, I've got two things displayed here. I ordered them on Amazon so I can bring them to this lecture. Pay a lot of money. So glucose, ketones. This is ketone ester. This is actually ketone, guys. You know how much it is? $35. This is a ketone shot. It differs from ketone salts because this would get into your body. Actually, the guy who made it is an engineer, and he videotaped himself, and he drank it. His ketones were 0.5, 0.4, so it's not even keto adapted. And he measured his ketones 45 minutes after. It was 4.5. Right. So the body can use this as a fuel, and the body can use this as a fuel. It's your choice. It's your choice. This is not good for you. This is not good for you. This is very good for you. And we go over why. So ketones, their association with diabetes gave them a very evil name, because when we went to school, all we worried about specifically with type 1 diabetes, ketoacidosis. I don't even remember the number of patients with ketoacidosis who were admitted to our ICU in the internal medicine program. I mean, we used to treat ketoacidosis with our hospitals. This is how many people we treated. And that's whenever as an internist you see ketoacidosis, kind of freak out. But it's a life-threatening thing, and this is why when ketogenic diet came about, we went, what are we doing? But this is why, because it's associated, ketones are associated with ketoacidosis. They are normal, archaic, they're old. This is what our ancestors used as a fuel rather than glucose. When our ancestors in the caveman, when they killed an animal to eat, there was no agriculture. Agriculture is only 10,000 years old. Humans are only 200,000 years old. So basically, before agriculture, all we ate were animals. So we lived on ketones. We fueled our bodies with ketones, okay? The two ones that we use is beta-hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate. Acetone we breathe out. This is why you have a fruity smell of your breath when you breathe. It's from the acetone. We don't use that. Acetoacetate becomes beta-hydroxybutyrate. This is the major fuel that we use. This is not a real ketone because it has an H atom, but I'm not going to go into physiology and biochemistry with you because I will bore you. Right? So ketones continued. Beta-hydroxybutyrate is our guy. Alright? It's the convenient carrier of energy. It's water soluble, it gets everywhere. It doesn't need albumin to be carried or any protein. Increases gene expression, in particular antioxidant gene, which protects against oxidative stress. It is a longevity molecule. So we use that as a fuel. We live longer. The studies have shown that. Greater efficiency in providing cellular energy, much cleaner metabolite than glucose, much cleaner. When you burn this guy, you have lots of bad stuff that comes out, okay, from the oxidative reaction, and that's bad for our nerve cells, it's bad for our vessels, and it's bad for our health in general. Ketone is a much better fuel. Very therapeutic to nerve cells. I don't know how many of you have treated patients with epilepsy. We used to put them on a ketogenic diet, and then specifically if they are resistant to epileptic drugs, anti-epileptic drugs, when you put them on a ketogenic diet, the seizures basically fade away, they go away. Epilepsy, Huntington disease, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. There are promising studies on Lou Gehrig's disease with multiple sclerosis with the ketogenic diet. They've shown a very great deal of improvement. We're up to E, energy, right? Energy currency, what we use ATP. The body derives ATP from carbohydrates or fat. So we all function on ATP. So we can either get ATP, adenosine triphosphate, from either glucose, or you can get it from fat. You choose. When insulin is high, we spoke about that earlier, the body cannot use fat, because when insulin is high, the body uses carb. When we limit our daily carbs to less than 50 grams, insulin drops, and the body switches to using fat. Fat cells will release free fatty acid for energy. Free fatty acid go to the liver and turn into ketones. With patients who are not keto adapted, they don't use ketones as a source of energy because the free fatty acid can be used as a fuel as well. So you can be in between. You can be on a low carb and use free fatty acid as energy, but you won't get the benefits of the keto adaptation phase. Okay. So energy continued. If we all think that all our organs are our body, I mean, how are you going to take my glucose away? How am I going to survive? Okay? Your muscles prefer free fatty acid for fuel. Your heart only uses glucose under strenuous, low oxygen status. It means in a heart attack, the body uses glucose. Other than that, the body uses free fatty acid. The liver uses free fatty acid. The kidneys as well. The brain uses either glucose or ketones. The body cannot use fat. I mean, the brain cannot use fat because free fatty acid cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. However, ketones can. So at 1 millimole per liter of ketones, your body uses most of its energy from ketone at a ketone level of 1 millimolar and higher. The brain cannot use glucose. Why do people go into a coma when they become hypoglycemic? Because the body has no ability, the brain has no ability to store glucose under glycogen form. So once you shut the glucose, patients fall on the floor, right? What is that level? Usually 60 milligrams, right, per deciliter, they fall on the floor. I walk in my clinic so many times with a glucose of 30, okay? And I'm fine. And people witness that. I'm fine. I don't fall on the floor. Unless I did it, I just don't. But no, I don't. Okay? Because my brain is using ketone. That's very, very good to know because actually Patty admitted that when she's out of sugar, what happens to you, Patty?
My sugar drops.
Well, then when your sugar drops, how do you get jittery?
Oh,
You
yeah,
get moody, right? Shaky.
palms,
Yeah.
anxious,
You don't have
hungry.
those. You're at a much key level of meditation, thinking, clarity. You don't get those ups and downs. Okay? My wife is a much nicer person right now. Alright, so we got to the T, almost done. Terminology. Ketones, we know what those are. We went over ketosis. Nutritional ketosis is when carbohydrates are restricted. So you get into nutritional ketosis. Ketoacidosis, this is the bad guy. This is called, in other words, for this runaway ketogenesis. This is more than 10 millimole per liter. Occurs mainly, I've never seen it in type 2, type 1 diabetes. It's in a setting where, look at the ketoacidosis, it's a setting of high glucose and low insulin. Okay? Right? But nutritional ketosis is low insulin but low glucose. Keto adaptation this is the best part of it. This is when you're adapted, this is when all your body parts are used to burning ketone. This is when you are stuck. So you're actually enjoying your life when you're in keto adaptation. That takes about 2 to 3 weeks because we all know about the keto flu. Right, Jen? You know about the keto flu. When you start having somebody, when you start somebody on ketogenic diet, the very first 2 weeks they don't feel good. And we have a very dropout of patients during that period. You have to encourage them. You have to tell them, drink broth, eat soup, increase your salt intake. But what happens, you can help those patients with phentermine because phentermine gives them energy. But they snap out of it after 2 weeks because the body gets keto adapted. Oral intake. So our fat is limited. Our fat is 70 to 75% per caloric intake. Protein 15 to 20, and carbs 5 to 10. Okay, you can divide there. This is total carb. That means include total carb is not genetic carb. There's fibers and all. What are the gains? This is ketogenic, so we got the G. So there are many benefits to ketogenic diet. Better fuel delivery, we spoke about that. Clean burning fuel, increased reactive oxygen species. This is what we said, when you burn this, you get lots of reactive oxygen species. These are the causes of heart disease. This is what happened here. reactive oxygen species that get caught in the artery and it creates inflammation. And this is when you build the plaque rupture and you get a heart attack. Right? It's not fat. Improved atherogenic dyslipidemia. What I mean by that, Jolly was asking me about her cholesterol being on ketogenic diet. I don't usually personally anymore look at total cholesterol and LDL and all that. I look at triglycerides to HDL ratio, and if that ratio is less than 3 with mine, on a ketogenic diet it's close to 1, even less than 1. Mine is 0.8, Jolly is 1, isn't it? What is it? Less than 1. Yeah, usually it's less than 1. So when your triglycerides are very low, your HDL is high, you're fine. There are studies that have shown that increased rise in LDL still puts you at risk regardless. However, with the ketogenic diet, when you see patients with high LDL levels, you get to fractionate that into small, medium, and large. So the small ones are the atherogenic ones. On a ketogenic diet, they tend to be very, very minimal proportion of the total LDL. If you continue to have that number high, you got to look into the patient, what is the patient eating? So you can decrease their fat intake, specifically medium chain triglycerides. Are you doing also MCT oil? Cut that down.
Oh, am I doing it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you cut down on the MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, and you tell them in general to cut down. Intermittent fasting would be great. Gain, continue, decrease central fatigue, improve insulin sensitivity, improve host defense against infection, better recovery on the aging recovery. It's called already, it's okay. Coronary heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, infertility, and cancer. The evidence, low carbohydrate, high fat, leads to the opposite of what we talked about, and the opposite of what we talked about. This is very simple. Again, we talked about that. The nutrients that we need to do is, Devin, are these corrected slides?
This is, yeah.
Is this open from AI or?
This is from, no, this is from what you had before.
So this is not the corrected version?
No, this is what you created.
Right, but we corrected a few slides for it.
Yeah, we corrected. Yeah, so
it's on it. Okay, so what is on AI is this same, right?
Correct.
Okay. So the nutrients that we need to talk about, there is a talk. Who's given the talk about nutrients? You are. Okay. So basically, you want to make sure that the sodium is very well replaced, the potassium is very well replaced, the magnesium, and multiple vitamins. I don't recommend so many things for them to take. I like them to take the nutrients from food. But always replace, I would recommend replacing, specifically with people who have palpitation. Magnesium tend to be a very good replacement. There are there's one kind of magnesium that I recommend is magnesium chloride. Okay, you don't want to get into the other form. Magnesium chloride could be released in extended release or just regular release, regular tablets. Magnesium chloride is what you want. Multiple vitamin. We talked about this slide before. Insulin is the only hormone from all the hormones that most hormones that we have that promotes fat storage and disable us from using fat. Once you have high insulin, you can't do anything with your fat. You just store it. Okay. Conclusion. The body uses two sources of energy. Eliminate glucose, your body will stop burning fat. Ketone will be made in the liver. Excellent source of energy. Benefits of ketogenic diets are many. Weight loss is just the tip of the iceberg. Right? Okay, this is the spillage theory. This slide tells us, we talked about the slides individually with you, all of you. We discussed that. This is how much carbohydrates we eat on a regular American diet. We just load ourselves with carbohydrates. Remember that if you take a blood slit from somebody in the fasting level in the morning, you would expect glucose to be 100 milligram and less per deciliter on a finger stick, right? Now the labs at 101, we call it high. You get those on CMP, right? You guys get them on CMP high, it's above 100. So 100 milligram per deciliter. If we calculate it, how much blood do we have in our body? 5 liters, if you do the math. So it is a 5 gram, which is 1 teaspoon. So the body cannot really do anything about 1 teaspoon of glucose in the entire body. When we are over 1 teaspoon in 5 liters of blood, the body has to shunt that extra glucose to the muscle to store as glycogen, to the liver to store as glycogen. The muscle can fit about 400 grams, the liver about 500 grams. After that, it comes back to the liver and comes out as fat and causes damage. Okay? So the carbohydrates excess that goes to the liver is what comes out as bad fat. Okay? And there is a new recent study that measured that fat. It's the palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is a saturated fatty acid that comes out from liponeogenesis from carbohydrate. Palmitic acid becomes a monounsaturated palmitoylic acid, which is a monounsaturated fatty acid that causes all the inflammation in the heart. Palmitoylic acid, which is a 16 carbon with 1 double bond. And this is what causes all the damage. Actually, it's called PAAO. It's an application. Now that it's coming up with a study that measures your palmitoylic acid levels in the body, and if you have it high, you have insulin resistance. Okay? There's a much better way of measuring insulin resistance. It's easy for everybody. You ask if you want to know if your patient has insulin resistance, you just get a regular total cholesterol panel, which is very inexpensive. How much is it, Patty? Total cholesterol panel? $10, $15, something like that. Not too much, but basically you do that ratio of triglycerides. What is it? 35 for the patient. Yeah. So once you get that panel, not the sophisticated panel, just regular, on a fasting level, they do it on a fasting level. So you take your triglycerides, and you take your HDL. You divide triglycerides by your HDL. If your ratio is less than 3, you're normal. If your ratio is 5, it's suggested that you have insulin resistance. If your ratio is 8 and above, it's diagnostic. That's it. You can literally write down, patient has insulin resistance.
Sorry, Doc, can you say that the ratios again?
Okay, so if it's less than 3, it's normal.
Wait, what is less than 3?
Okay, triglycerides by HDL. If it is 5, it's suggested. If it is above 8, it's diagnosed. So that's it, they have it. So my point here, once we all eat more than 5. I'm not picking on Patty, but I think Patty is just about 200 or 300, maybe. Oh, okay, so your body has 5 liters of blood. After 5, it's gonna take it to the liver. 400, take it to the liver 100, to the muscle 400, maximum 500. After 500 grams in the entire body, the body will send it back to the liver, and this is when we will have fatty liver and liponeogenesis started. Liponeogenesis is making lipid from carbohydrates, new lipids, and those are the bad fats that are deposited in your arteries. And in people who have insulin resistance, this pathway is not that smooth. So you're not going to go and fill the tank of 400 before you shunt back to the liver. No, you're not going to do that. Because if you have insulin resistance, you probably won't be able to put 400 grams of glycogen in here. You will start shunting, and you have an ability to, your liponeogenesis process in an insulin-resistant patient is much more active than in a normal patient. Okay? This is what we're talking about. So the same thing, but what I was trying to say here, the other one is just a regular diagram of what's going on. But with this, you see the insulin resistance. These people are carb intolerant. These are carb tolerant, and this is where they send it here. And then the carb intolerant, they send it to the liver before they go that way. Okay? This is the bad fact that comes out. So it's a cycle. High carb diet causes all insulin resistance. Insulin resistance causes bad insulin secretion, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, syndrome X, metabolic syndrome, and all of that. Weight gain, atherogenic dyslipidemia, visceral adiposity, endothelial function, hypertension, hyperuricemia, systemic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and impaired exercise performance. Right? High carb diet cycle. I think everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. This is what Einstein says. So we have to tell our patients that we can be simple. Everything should be simple, as possible, but not simpler. So you have to convince your patient that you're coming to us with an issue, with a problem. It's not like you're coming to us to give you a ball of ice cream. I mean, if they're not going to listen to you, there's stuff. I'm sorry, but you have to do something about the problem you're coming to solve. You can't just be easy with the patients. It's okay to tell them. Follow this or it's not going to work. And we all know that if they don't follow this, it's not going to work. Although the image of coronary arteries as kitchen pipes clogged with fat is simple, familiar, and evocative, it is wrong. This is a cardiologist. We always experience our joys and sorrows long before we choose them, before we experience them. This is a Khalil Gibran. This is a saying that I always use. I don't know why it didn't fit. We don't know. But basically, Khalil Gibran is a philosopher, Lebanese. I love this guy. But what he wrote in here, that we always choose our joys and we choose our sorrows way before, long time before we experience them. And these patients are not going to experience the bad things from what they're doing to themselves until later. So if we can help them earlier, this is my point. If we can start now, then things are much better in the future. That's it. Thank you.